That being said, possibly one of the hottest topics going. I presented a couple of keynote presentations at the BET show last year about where safeguarding and safety meet AI, and it's such a challenging landscape right now that we have around that
Oh yeah.
growth. I'm going to teach a few of you things that you already know around AI in a second, but we'll kick it off again, just bringing the polls back around AI here and the sort of challenges that you have. Some of the options that you've got here in the poll are around limited visibility, or is compliance an issue to make sure that the data privacy models of the vendors that you're picking are issues, or is it we do have that AI is not a major concern right now. Without revealing individual results, it's fair to say that there's not many people who have selected that one quite yet, because lots of people are
Oh, we
having a
got
bit.
one.
We got one person who's seeing that across that, which I guess is it's the reality of life that we are seeing all sorts. We want to make sure we can put that back up on their radar, likely within 2026. Who knows where it'll go? But we're seeing a range of ones there. A lot of people choosing limited visibility into what students are using as a real
Yeah.
challenge, and also that compliance piece as being the two largest options for everyone's benefit. As I said, I'm going to teach you a few things that you already know, maybe with some statistics here around this. Um, Newsflash, our students are using AI. Whether we have it allowed in our school network or not, they're using it at home. They're using it for advice. Maybe the topic more of a safety webinar where we're focusing on that side, but they are using it for companionship and a whole load of aspects to address the mental health challenges that we have across the world today, which is a whole different topic. Um, but it's safe to say that we are really seeing a world in 2026 where AI is everywhere. It's the hottest thing that we're seeing. We are seeing teachers who have got maybe a little bit more loose control across their district or across their technology, being able to just introduce it and are trying it and experimenting. I'm a great one for experimentation, but certainly from a technology standpoint, we know we need to make sure that we are thinking about the safety and the security of what we are putting in place. Some of the statistics on the right there around schools blocking AI. I think if this was a year ago, even we would have seen that at nearly 99%. We are seeing schools opening up a little bit more, but there's still a real hesitation for the biggest challenge, the challenges that you've all just answered in the previous poll. Striking for me is that over a third of the students and the teens who are using AI have experienced something uncomfortable or a risky interaction as they have been testing the boundaries. Maybe that's not in a school network, but it's happening. And we are, to some degree, the guardians over the relationship that these young people are forming with AI. We know parents are an important factor in how we teach. Good digital citizenship is critical here, and we have a part to play on that, I think, as well as schools. So what I'm predicting, Matt, for 2026, I'm predicting that 85% to come down as we see some of the challenges around visibility or compliance go away. We know some of the large language providers and those generative options are starting to have to think more about the security and safety of students. They're making their policies more streamlined to be supportive of education. And also with tools like ourselves, what are the things that we're going to do to be able to enhance that visibility into AI is really going to give schools the confidence to flourish in this innovative space, I think.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think one of the key challenges, I mean it's one of so many. I guess I can't really say it's the key one, is that in the modern workforce, right, being able to use AI is largely becoming expected, especially in certain industries. And so when we think about, schools trying to teach AI literacy and the need to educate young people on AI, um, that I think that's one of the big amplifying problems here, right? Is like they have to make this work and they have to do it fast because that is so important to being able to take that step, right? And being able to be on the same page as other people who did get that education, entering the job market or just the next stage of their lives in general. And so, whether or not it's picking one specific tool or not, one of the things that we've seen, because I think, really early on, actually, once ChatGPT and things like that started to become popular, we did see a few different kind of like, bespoke custom versions for education or otherwise come out. But the general feedback from the market that I saw was that it's like if it's not the real thing, then teaching them how to use it is not helping, right? It's like, they need to know how the real tools work and how they're going to respond and what's going to happen there. Um, and it's tricky too, of course, because then at the same time, kind of to that 34%, those real tools love to self-reinforce and be positive and say, yes, you did it, yes, you got it right. And there's a lot of those challenges at the same time. So it's like it's almost taking a technology that wasn't mature enough yet, but was becoming prolific everywhere, but it's like you have no choice but to try to figure out how to educate. I mean, obviously that's not for everyone. I don't want to say universally everyone's implementing it in their education plans, but it's a real consideration. That's certainly not a simple answer when you're seeing the risks and the harm and the things that it can do, while at the same time knowing that you have to teach people how to use it potentially. So
It's a conversation, deviating here slightly, which we expect it to happen, but it's a conversation that happens over and over and over in education. We have the what AI is to me, at least, it's the latest powerful potential for innovation in the classroom. It's got the largest opportunity to change how we teach and how students learn, and it comes with risks. I mean, the introduction of the calculator into the class came with risks. It was the latest one. Even if we think back to when YouTube was first starting to have a body of educational content, the risks, and like we called out with restricted mode being either too restrictive or not restrictive enough, it's a risk. There are those challenges, and it's all about how we meet them with the safety and with the assessment we make of those risks and the mitigations that we can put in place to be able to allow our students to use these things safely. So it really has, to the title of this slide, it's really amped up the need for that oversight into this tool, because we just cannot ignore it in our classrooms for much longer.
agreed. Well, and this is why, and this kind of goes into the next slide. Oh, perfectly timed. Is why you need a framework, right? Like it's not just one thing, it's not just one tool or otherwise. When you're trying to implement something like this, for your organization broadly, there's so much to it that you have to figure out from a compliance, from a security, and from an auditability, et cetera. So that's really where the Smart AI framework came into play. This was something that Lightspeed developed in partnership with a whole bunch of different organizations out there. And when I say organization, I do mean like districts, et cetera, et cetera. So K-12. And so I'm not going to go through and read everything here on the slide, but ultimately, there's building a framework that keeps kids safe, that governs access, right, effectively, that makes sure the usage is appropriate, that makes sure you have the reporting, you have the monitoring and accountability there, and that your policies and such are transparent, is becomes like a foundational. You need to cover all these bases realistically if you want to succeed in that rollout, right? And so again, this has been something it's continuing to evolve, right? Anybody who thinks that they've finished with AI related things is probably kidding themselves because of how quickly this is all changing. So, but covering these bases is very key. You can even see even some cybersecurity influence here, thinking about managed governing AI by role, age, and purpose. Right? We think about least privileged access, things like that. Those types of models, they come into use other places too, and it's really just trying to make sure that that rollout is safe and smart. But if we kind of go up to the next slide, we can take a little bit more look of what it looks like in practice, right?
Mhm.
So just kind of giving some examples. These are pretty high level, but just bear with me here. When we're talking about keeping something safe, right, we are talking about blocking or allowing things, right? You have different policies for different age groups. Not everyone should be able to get to the tool. If we take Lightspeed into as an example here, we have three different AI categories. One of them is generative AI. The answer is not to allow generative AI. That's not what you're doing here. You're not saying, oh, high schoolers can get to everything. Really, what you're saying is you're picking the tool, such as whether it's OpenAI or Copilot or otherwise, and you're saying, okay, we're going to go ahead, pull this one out into its own category, allow just this, and then we're kind of keeping everything else safe and protected, because what you're doing is you're setting your organization, your policies, you're setting any visibility or other tools you're doing, any special contracts with Microsoft or whoever your vendor is, and you're making sure that it's all around one highly visible a solution essentially. So, and then from a managed perspective, I think that's fairly straightforward, right? It's not just policies, but it's also even thinking about on an administrative level who can see we're saying transparent for logs and reports that you can share, but also who can get access to those. Because that's the other, I think, kind of scary reality of AI use, is that it's not just for fun or even for, sometimes personal conversations. People do put personal information in there, like really truly personal information. Sometimes it's even HIPAA related information or otherwise too. And so you do have to be careful also, from a visibility perspective, that the role access is correctly managed. And then, appropriate, I think is goes without saying, when we think about how you can help ensure AI use is appropriate. It's you think about generating content. I'm sure everybody here listening has had this problem where deep fakes or something along those lines has gotten shared out and around, right? Where people are trying to do that. And so when we think about real-time image blurring and kind of what we're trying to do there, that helps protect and keep that content appropriate. You can't generate explicit images or otherwise. And I want to be very clear here too. Smart AI Framework is not just applying to like a generative AI tool like ChatGPT. That's already putting in protections to protect it against that sort of thing. There are so many other tools out there, right? Local tools or otherwise, that people can use to kind of create inappropriate content that's not restricted. And so that's where these things come into play. So, anyways, again, this is something that is it's really meant to be a framework to help you work with all of your peers and stakeholders involved to make sure that you're covering all your bases as you move forward.
Love it, Matt. Thank you very much. It's a good context of a framework and a framework in practice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. And I think we're actually in a little bit here, we'll have a link to that as well for folks who want to look more into it. Now, I do want to point out from a visibility perspective, this is something pretty cool that Lightspeed is working on. This is pretty recent, which is our AI prompt capture. So when we're talking about visibility, we're talking about that reporting piece and transparency. Being able to actually look at what kids are typing in and then what those responses are and have a place that you can catalog them. Obviously, data privacy is a concern, access is a whole thing. And so this is something that's for just a kind of our owner level, right? So the highest access within the org, but having an option so that way you have that auditability, because a lot of these vendors don't actually provide it. And so that's something pretty neat. There will be more that will continue to evolve. And then, of course, if you think on our kind of safeguarding side, we already are monitoring and alerting on that sort of thing. So detecting bad behaviors or otherwise that need following up.
That's an important point, Matt, to say that, yeah, this is a really welcomed feature coming to Lightspeed Filter to be able to see this for our admins who maybe, as you've called out, they can't see this inside the tool and itself or the platform, or if they can, it's buried inside an audit log so deep that they're never
Yeah,
actually really going to see it. But our alerting solution has already been scanning these since sort of their inception and
yep,
provides that layer of anything that's typed is being ultimately added to the models that it is scanning for those aspects of self-harm, violence, or explicit or
exactly.
drugged material. So it's important to this is going to give a real extra layer in that visibility that everyone I've spoken to about it seems very excited for.